Walters is open until 2 a.m., making it a great spot to watch the NBA playoffs. Walters Sports Bar and Restaurant is located just across the street from Nationals Park.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Third baseman Gray is even with the bag in case of a bunt. The pitch is hit in the air to deep right center field. Chasing back Buxton to the warning track near the wall, looking up, and there it goes! It's into the seats in the second row for Drew Millas. Home run number 1 for the Nationals catcher. And the Nats are in front for the first time, 3-2.
Sigh of relief. A lot of hard work went into it with Borgs and with the hitting coaches. And yeah, I just got something out over the plate that I can handle and put a good swing on it, thankfully.
Now the pitch. House swings and hits it high in the air to center field and deep. Going way back is Buxton to the warning track to the wall, and it is called goodbye. A majestic, soaring, high fly home run over the center field wall for Brady House. Bang! Zoom goes Brady House with his 5th home run of the year. 3 RBIs for the night, giving him 18.
The 2-1. Swing a high drive, right center field. This one is crushed. Way back it goes. It's a grand slam for CJ Abrams. He tosses the bat away. He'll take a slow trot around the bases. And the Nationals lead it 14-2.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. I'm joined by Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. Mark is at Nationals Park, where each of the first 2 games of a 3-game series for the Nats against the Minnesota Twins has been a blowout. We had the Nats 11-3 loss to the Twins on Tuesday evening, but we now have had the Nats 15-2 win over the Twins on Wednesday evening. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season get to 17-20, 5-13 at home versus 12-7 on the road. And this game on Wednesday evening was a feel-good game in so many ways. First of all, you had the Nats busting out of a 4-game homerless drought by scoring 15 runs on 14 hits and 5 walks. 10 of the 14 hits were extra base hits, including 4 homers. Also, the likes of Brady House and Drew Millas homered. That was good to see. And starting pitcher Miles Mikolas was legitimately good. There was so much to like from this game. But Mark, I have to say, the first of the 4 homers, the Drew Millas homer, we have been talking about how much he has been struggling. To see him homer was so good, and then to see Brady House do as he did off our recent conversation about House, that was good to see. Like I said, really a feel-good night at Nationals Park.
Yeah, you couldn't have drawn a lot of this stuff up any better, although here's the one caveat. This, I think, is the most amazing part of it. For 3 innings, they had put up 0. Literally 0, because Bailey Ober retired the first 9 batters he faced on 35 pitches. They had nothing going at the plate. And then starting from the 4th inning on, they scored every inning and kept adding more and more after each of those. And just a feel-good night, as you said, for a lot of guys. I think Millas has got to be high on that list. When he came up to bat in the 5th inning, his OPS, I happened to look at the scoreboard, which updates it. In that moment, it said 399. It had fallen underneath 400. By the time he crossed the plate a few seconds later after the home run, it had shot up to 480. That was an 81-point home run for the OPS for Drew Millas, and boy, did he need that one. One of many in this game that you can just say, boy, they needed that one.
Yeah, the Nats in this game scoreless through 3, and then a run in the bottom of the 4th, 2 runs in the bottom of the 5th, 3 runs in the bottom of the 6th, 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th, and 7 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. A second consecutive Wednesday evening blowout win for the Nats. We had the 14-2 win at the New York Mets the previous Wednesday night, April 29th, and now we have this 15-2 win over the Twins at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening. So yeah, The offense, which, as we have discussed, had cooled off, was back to being outstanding in this game. 15 runs, 14 hits, which were 4 home runs, a triple, 5 doubles, and 4 singles, 5 walks, 7 for 15 with runners in scoring position. Bailey Ober, as Mark mentioned, got off to a good start, but he ultimately allowed 5 runs in 5 innings. Nats manager Blake Butera, during his postgame press conference, talked about some of the adjustments that the Nats made in facing Ober.
We knew he'd go a lot with the off-speed, but he went heaters in and then to set himself up for off-speed the rest of the at-bats against our lefties. And I think just that first time through, didn't expect that, and then made our adjustment. Second time through and did much better. But, I mean, he's a good pitcher. He mixes speeds. It's a tough angle. But, yeah, I was happy that we kept at it.
So many Nats players ended up doing well. But in a lot of ways, the guy who leads the way is CJ Abrams, who really is starting to have a special season here in terms of just consistently producing. He has been by far the Nats' best hitter. James Wood has done well too, but Abrams' numbers are appreciably better. And Abrams had a big night in this game on Wednesday night. He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, 3 for 5 with a grand slam, an RBI double, and another double. So 8 total bases for Abrams. He and the Nats 1-run fourth, had a 1-out RBI double to right center field on a 1-2 pitch to tie the game at 1. And Abrams in the Nats 7-run eighth, a 1-out grand slam to right center field to put the Nats up 14-2. The grand slam came off Twins reliever and former Nats reliever Luis Garcia. But Abrams now has an OPS of 960, and he is playing like the shortstop who he is supposed to be.
Hitting the ball with authority, like we said, and we've mentioned this. You can usually tell what kind of a game it's going to be for them offensively based on what either James Wood or CJ Abrams done. And often when both of them are doing it or not doing it, it really tells the whole story. And not that there weren't plenty of other contributors in this game, but those two guys got it started. As I said, first 9 batters go down in order. Then James Wood rips a single to right in the 4th, steals second. And a couple batters later, Abrams drives him in with the double. So gets the ball rolling, gets them finally going. You mentioned that they, had picked up on some things that Ober was doing to them the first time through, tried to make some adjustments. Clearly that worked for them. And by the time he comes up in the 8th, it's already a blowout at this point. He gets to bat with the bases loaded. Derek Shelton makes a pitching change, one of way too many pitching changes in this game. And he brings in Garcia. And Abrams admitted to us afterwards that he decided, I'm going for the grand slam.
I kind of did. I told Brady before I was going up that I was trying to hit one. So.
What does he have to lose at this point? You're going to bring in another reliever. I know this guy. I saw him last year. He throws hard. I'm swinging from my shoe tops on this one. And boy, did he connect on that. And so it's a nice feeling to be able to do that and really just turn this into a complete game for them offensively and a big night for him personally.
Yeah, and you look at where we are. We're 37 games into the 162. We're nearing being a quarter of the way into the regular season here, and you could not have written this any better for CJ Abrams. Like, he's producing at a consistently high level. The defense, I still think there's work to be done there, but I don't notice him defensively and say to myself, boy, he's having a wretched defensive season. We commented recently about Blake Butera talking about Abrams being a leader. Butera said that he's happy to have Abrams here. There still is the potential of him being traded looming over all of this, but I think we should appreciate this. He's doing exactly what you would want him to do. You could not have written this any better in terms of CJ Abrams, how he performed for the Nats. He was a bit of a question mark coming into the season off the up and down nature of his last 2 seasons. He's been terrific so far this year.
Yeah, look, we have seen this from him in the first half before, so that's not new. Now, maybe the consistency, he was a little streakier, I feel like, in the past, where 1 month was great and then cool off after that and then get hot again. He's pretty much, a little bit of a slump in there, but for the most part has sustained this. And what you mentioned about the defense as well, maybe he's not doing a lot that makes you say, wow, defensively, but he's also not doing very much that makes you shake your head at him. And think back to last year in the second half when it really started to go downhill for him. It felt like every night there was at least one play. He might make the play, he might botch the play, but whatever the case would be, you would be holding your breath, cringing when the ball was hit to him, thinking, is he going to be able to pull this one off or not? We haven't had those kind of moments for the most part this year. So I think there's a consistency there defensively, an attention to detail that has definitely stood out. And, we got a long way to go, but it will be interesting to see both how the Nats view him come July, but also how the rest of the league views him come July. Does the rest of the league see him as a shortstop? Do they see, no, we think we know deep down what he is. He's probably a second baseman. Does the rest of the league see a guy who's just good in the first half? Or do they see this is somebody who could sustain this and be a great player for a full season? I think that more than anything is going to determine what Paul Taboni does. He doesn't have to make a move there. If he gets an offer he likes, he may make it, but he doesn't have to. He's got Abrams for 2 more years. He can wait till the offseason again to look at it. So I'm really curious how he does sustaining this or not sustaining it, but also how does that maybe change the Nats' view of him or other teams' views of him?
Yeah, I mean, I've brought this up. Him doing so well, does that increase the likelihood of him being traded? Does that decrease the likelihood of him being traded? Is that increasing the possibility of the Nats, dare I even say, extending CJ Abrams? So a lot of ways that this could go, but he is doing quite well.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
We've all been there. You're away for the weekend. The big game is on, and you realize you're restricted from watching. Or maybe you're trying to check the latest lines on your betting app, but your local network is blocking the site. These are the ultimate unforced errors. You can prevent this from happening to you with IPVanish. IPVanish is the powerhouse VPN designed to keep you in the game no matter where you are. IPVanish helps you stay connected to your favorite team and streaming services while you travel. But it's not just about watching the game. For the bettors out there, IPVanish provides an extra layer of security and privacy that helps you access your account safely on public Wi-Fi. Plus, IPVanish is lightning fast, so you won't have to worry about lag during those crucial live betting moments. Right now, get a massive discount at IPVanish.com. That's IPVANISH.com to get started today. Secure your play and go to IPVanish.com.
3-2 to Tena. Swinging a high drive, right center field deep. Buxton going back to the warning track, looking up, and it is gone. Jose Tena puts one into the seats. 5 rows deep in right center field for his second of the season. And the Nationals just can't stop scoring. They lead it 15-2.
The other 3 Nats homers in this game coming from Brady House, Jose Tena, and yes, Drew Millas. So House, he is the Nats starting third baseman and number 5 batter, 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer and an RBI double. He and the Nats 3-run 6th had an RBI double to left field for a 4-2 Nats lead. He and the Nats 2-run 7th had a 2-out 2-run homer to center field for an 8-2 Nats lead, 425 feet per StatCast. Brady House, of course, had been struggling since his hot start. His OPS now at 691. Jose Tena continues to be effective when he plays. He is the Nats starting DH and number 6 batter, 2 for 5 with a solo homer and an RBI double. He and the Nats 3-run 6 had a first pitch opposite field RBI double to the left center field gap to put the Nats up 5-2. And Tena had the exclamation mark on the Nats offense in this game. He capped the 7-run 8th with a 2-out full count solo homer to right center for a 15-2 Nats lead. Tena 69 plate appearances, OPS of 832. And yes, Drew Millas getting in on the act. He is the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter, 2 for 4, 2-run homer and a double. He in the 2-run 5th for the Nats had a first pitch 2-run homer to right center to give the Nats a 3-2 lead, ending what had been a 4-game homerless drought for the Nats. We had not talked about that. Them hitting homers had dried up. And when we, discussed the cooling off of the offense, that had been a big part of this. The homers, which had been coming in bunches, had evaporated. And then lo and behold, you get 4 homers in this game. Will you, for NatsJournal.com, be writing another glowing piece about Brady House, potentially sending him into another tailspin? Or are you going to be a bit kinder to our friend Brady this time?
Yeah, he was getting a mention in my article, but I'm not going to go overboard with him, partly because there's a lot of other stuff to go into on this one, which is good. Hopefully I won't curse anybody else, whether it's Abrams or Millas or whoever, with too many kind words for them. You mentioned the homerless streak. The last homer the Nationals had hit was CJ Abrams' go-ahead homer in the 8th inning in New York. That was Thursday. As we talk right now, it's late Wednesday night. It was 6 days, 4 games without a homer. This was the 5th game, but 6 days that they went without hitting a home run. And of course, who would you expect to break that slump, but none other than Drew Millas?
It's crazy how baseball can work, but that is how baseball can work. And, there's even more to the offensive production here. James Wood got in on the act. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, 2 for 4 with a 2-run single, another single, and a walk. He went 2 for 2 on stolen bases. The Nats triple was by Nasim Nunez. He is the Nats starting second baseman and number 9 batter, 1 for 4 RBI triple. He and the Nats 3-run 6th had a 2-out RBI triple to right field on a 1-2 pitch for a 6-2 Nats lead. So what an offensive showing by the Nats. And, you look at the overall numbers here, even with the recent dip, you're looking at 198 runs over 37 games, 5.35 runs per game. So, a little less than a quarter of the way into the regular season, the Nats are still averaging well above 5 runs per game. And it's just great to see. It's still very surprising to see this. And the thing about Wednesday evening, by far, the extra base hits, it was incredible. The Nats, at one point, it was like one double after another. The Nats were all over Twins pitching in this game.
Yeah, especially their bullpen. Once they got to the Twins bullpen, it was like game over from that point on. I think that's the biggest thing. They have hit at times, but not really showing that kind of power here lately. So to get that, and power doesn't have to mean home runs. It means gap shots. It means balls down the line. It means a guy like Nasim Nunez, you get a ball in the gap, that's 3 bases for him. They had been, I feel like, through most of this homestand, a lot of ground balls, a lot of pop-ups, just not that kind of like solid contact. And even some of the hits had been kind of cheapies. So to hit the ball with authority the way they did and to sustain that over the course of the game, piling on there at the end, you hope it's a good sign. As we know, nothing's guaranteed. And for all we know, Thursday afternoon, they could get shut out in the series finale. But you hope that they picked up some things from this game that are sustainable. And, they're one of the top 5 teams in baseball in runs scored, in spite of the fact that, as we've talked about, there are a lot of black holes, it feels like, in this lineup. They haven't hit with runners in scoring position. At last check, they were 25th in the majors with runners in scoring position, despite being 5th in the league in runs scored. So there is potential there for maybe even more. They just have to show they can sustain this stuff, get production. When you get production from all parts of your lineup, what a difference it makes. They got up and down the lineup in this game. It's totally different than most nights where, as we said, it feels like you're just relying on Wood and Abrams to provide most of it.
Yeah, there was a relentlessness to the offensive performance in this game. That 3-run 6th for the Nats, they begin that half inning with 3 consecutive doubles. Abrams leadoff double, House RBI double, Tena RBI double, and then you get the 2-out RBI triple by Nasim Nunez. So just in that half inning, 4 extra base hits in the Nats scoring 3 runs. So the Nats offense in this game was outstanding, but how about our Nats starting pitcher in this 15-2 victory over the Twins on Wednesday evening? Miles Mikolas. The Nats, for a second consecutive Miles Mikolas turn in the rotation, did not use an opener. Mikolas, as a starting pitcher, actually started the game. We know the deal with Mikolas. He had not been doing well, had been better lately, but still had not had what you would call like a legitimately good outing so far here. Well, dare I say, he on Wednesday evening was legit good. 2 runs, 5 1/3 innings. He gave up 3 hits, which were a home run, a double, and a single. 3 strikeouts, no walks, issued a wild pitch, threw a lot of strikes, 74 pitches, 52 strikes, 22 balls. Mikolas in the top of the 3rd allowed a run on an odd double, a check swing opposite field double by Luke Keeschel to no man's land in right field, and a full count RBI single by Matt Wallner into right center for a 1-0 Twins lead, despite Wallner having been down at 1.02. And then Mikolas in the top of the 5th allowed a run as he gave up a 2-out opposite field solo homer by Wallner to left center on an 0-2 pitch for a 2-1 Twins lead. But Miles Mikolas overall did well. So nice job, Miles Mikolas. What'd you think about Blake Butera bringing Mikolas out to begin the top of the 6th inning? Were you surprised by that?
I wasn't. I figured it was going to be for one batter because it was Byron Buxton, the right-handed hitter. And then with the lefties coming up, I thought he'd go to Mitchell Parker, and that's exactly what he did. Now, that said, there's some danger in letting Mikolas face anybody a third time, let alone somebody as good as Byron Buxton. So that was a show of confidence in what at that time was still a tight, close game. This was not a blowout at that point. So I did think that was a real show of confidence in Mikolas from the manager, and he got him to ground out. That capped off a really good game for him. As you said, only 3 batters reach against him. One of them is that fluke check swing double. So it's really only Matt Wallner that got him at all. The top 6 hitters in the lineup did 0 against Mikolas. And I feel like he had been building up to something like this. Maybe this was a bit extreme, but his last few starts were better. Last few appearances, some of them were bulk relief. They were better. And he felt better about it. He felt like he had worked on some things mechanically that set him up better. And what he said he did in this one, I think this was just like the next logical progression in where he had been going the last few times out there. He decided, you know what, I'm overthinking this. I'm sometimes game planning toward the other hitter's weaknesses. I'm just going to try to focus on my strengths. What are my strengths? Keep the ball down in the zone, try to get him to hit ground balls. And so he went into this with a real concrete game plan of that. Did that, and then occasionally surprised them with a fastball up that looked a lot tougher, a lot harder than they maybe would have, because you're not seeing that much at that level. He's had everything at the knees and down below, and it absolutely worked for him. So this is a confidence booster for him. Does this mean his season has turned around? I'm not going to go that far yet, not at all. But I do think it's nice to see that. I don't think this came out of nowhere. I think he had been building towards it, and it does seem like there have been some real tangible adjustments made, both physically and then also a mental approach to say, I'm just going to go back to what I know works for me. Don't worry whether the hitter is good at that or not. I'm going to stick to my strengths. And at least on this night, that worked beautifully for him.
Very much so. And he's moving in the right direction. And of course, you like seeing that.
Here's the set, the 1-0. Bell swings and grounds one up the middle. Abrams to the other side of second. He has it. He throws on to first, and the Nationals win it 15-2. Miles Mikolas gets his first win in the Nats rotation. He induced 12 ground ball outs, pitched 5 1/3 terrific innings. Mitchell Parker and Zach Kent take it from there, but an offensive explosion sees the Nationals score the final 14 runs of the game as they win this game going away to even the series 15-2 the final.
The Nats relief pitching in this 15-2 win over the Twins at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening was good. 2 Nats relievers combined for 3 2/3 scoreless, hitless, and walkless innings. Mitchell Parker, 2 2/3 perfect innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. Here are your Mitchell Parker stats now at the major league level this regular season. 7 games, all in relief, ERA 3.38, a whip of 0.94. That's kind of an odd mix. You'd think the ERA would be lower with the whip being that good. But here's the bottom line. He is doing well as a reliever. Like, he looks like a much different pitcher than who we saw certainly last season as a starter. And then Zach Kent, a scoreless, hitless, and walkless top of the 9th, despite committing a went-out throwing error. Zach Kent, the Nats on Sunday afternoon announced having claimed him off waivers from the Minnesota Twins and also having optioned him to AAA Rochester. But the Nats on Wednesday afternoon announced having recalled Kent from AAA Rochester. So, everything in this game was working. The offense was great. The pitching came through, both from a starting pitching standpoint and a relief pitching standpoint.
I think we mentioned it last time that Parker pitched, that I think they found something here with this role for him as a multi-inning reliever, often being the guy to follow up Mikolas or maybe Zach Littell as a change of pace from the left side. But going into these games, knowing that he's going to give you multiple innings, he doesn't have to worry about going 5 innings like he did as a starter. Give you 2, maybe 3 tops, good quality innings. And I think this is working for him. You want to see it continue. As you said, it's only 7 games so far. It feels like he's pitched more than that, but I think it's because he's pitching in these like bulk appearances and then has several days off, before he comes out there again. But I like what he's doing, and I think there is a potential here for him to have a second life here as a long reliever, I guess you want to call it that, but not as a long reliever who just pitches mop-up work, but who can actually pitch some meaningful innings like he did in this game and protect the lead and then maybe hand it off to somebody to close it out at the end of the night. Let's see more of it, of course, but so far there's a lot to like about what Mitchell Parker has done.
Also regarding Nats relievers, although I guess I should say former Nats relievers. So Cionel Perez, who now is gone from the Nats organization, minor league contract with the New York Mets. We didn't talk about this on the last installment of the show, but the Nats late Monday morning announced that Perez was gone from the organization. We had discussed what happened with Perez this past weekend. He and the Nats 6-1 loss to the Milwaukee Brewers at Nats Park this past Friday evening. 2 scoreless innings. Well, it turned out he was on waivers. So the Nats on Saturday afternoon announced that Perez had cleared outright waivers and had been assigned outright to AAA Rochester. But the Nats late Monday morning announced, quote, as a player with at least 5 years of Major League service, Cionel Perez had the option to declare free agency in lieu of accepting his outright assignment. Perez has declared free agency, end quote. Only though gets a minor league contract with the Mets. What do you think about what has happened here with Cionel Perez?
I think clearly the Nats had seen what they thought they needed to see out of him. They were very high on him in spring training, and I think there was a lot of hope that he was going to come into the season as one of their top relievers. I think you and I both picked him to have the most saves on the team. I believe that. How'd that one work out? Not so great. I think they had seen enough and decided this isn't worth it anymore. Let's cut bait. I do think it's kind of interesting that it's the Mets of all teams that are picking up guys off the Nats scrap heap. And again, it's a minor league deal, so who knows if he makes it to the big leagues for them. But I thought that's curious and maybe a sign of where things are right now in New York, that they feel the need to go do that. Now, he has potential. He's had success in the past. Like, it wouldn't shock me if he figured it all out. But what we had seen here, he was not throwing strikes. And when he did, he was getting hit hard. I think the feeling was this isn't worth holding on to any longer. We don't think he's going to figure it out. And, cutting bait barely more than a month into the season, I'd be curious how the previous administration would have handled that. I know we've talked about how they gave up on 3 guys last year, relievers that they signed. So maybe they would have made the same decision. But this did feel like they saw what they needed to see and said, nope, that's enough. Let's move on.
But I guess my thing would be this. If you're Perez and you only get a minor league contract with the Mets and you know how the Nats are operating with this revolving door of relievers, why not just accept the assignment to Rochester knowing that you could be back up at the major league level sooner rather than later?
I guess at the time he didn't know, or his agent didn't do a good job of trying to find out what kind of interest there would be in him, because maybe if he knew it was nothing but minor league offers that he wouldn't have become a free agent, maybe he would have stayed. He may also look at the Mets and say, change of scenery, that's a team that's kind of trying to get the season back on track and win, and maybe they do have a spot for him. I'm guessing whatever message he got from the Nats made him think that there wasn't going to be a great opportunity to come back here again.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think a ton of what happened with Perez just because we're seeing so many guys shuttled back and forth that I was just like, okay, this is a transactional thing. He'll be back at the major league level with the Nats sooner rather than later. I was a little surprised when it came out that, like, no, he's actually gone from the organization. And yeah, the guy who you and I picked to lead the team in saves, unless he somehow winds up back with the Nats, that's probably not going to be happening.
Well, if he somehow ends up leading the Mets in saves, can we take credit for that?
I think we should get something for that. We should get like a nice bonus or something for that. Extra credit maybe in your standings for preseason predictions. So we shall see if the Nats can actually get, wait for it, a series win at home here. Game 3 for the Nats against the Twins at Nationals Park Thursday afternoon at 1:05. So Jake Irvin is listed as the probable starting pitcher. We have not yet seen PJ Poulin. Should we be on opener watch for Thursday afternoon, or do you think we're going to get Jake Irvin as the actual starting pitcher?
I think we'll see Jake Irvin again with Mikolas. They didn't feel the need to go with the opener because the Twins are not really left-handed heavy at the top of the lineup. They bat Buxton first, and he's a right-handed hitter. So I think they probably stick with him. And let's also remember, a year ago, Jake Irvin had one of the best starts of his career in Minnesota against his hometown team. I am sure he's going to be fired up for this one. I would love to see him continue what he did last year against them. And by the way, Al, maybe I'm jinxing this, but if they could win on Thursday, they'd win a home series for the first time this year.
Has not happened. Just the fact that the Nats got a home win on Wednesday evening, I felt like was significant. So, yeah, that would be nice to see. Would be good to have the Nats conclude the homestand with a victory here. After this series against the Twins, you have a 6-game road trip, 3 games at the Miami Marlins this weekend, followed by 3 games at the Cincinnati Reds next Tuesday through Thursday. We offer shout-outs on the Nats Chat podcast. If you would like to send a shout-out to someone who you care about, email the man who runs the podcast, Tim Shovers, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. A happy birthday to Richard from his wife, Mary Beth. Richard is turning 75, and instead of a big party, Richard wanted a trip to Canada. He is confident, though, he still will make time to listen to Nats Chat every morning on the trip. Well, thank you very much for that, Mary Beth. Happy birthday to you, Richard. I don't know if listening to Nats Chat might give Richard some problems when it comes to getting across the border, but we appreciate Richard being a loyal listener here.
Well, we know that we are listened to around the entire globe. I know we have several listeners from Canada on a regular basis. We'll add one more here with Richard. Cannot promise you, though, that there's going to be an accurate translation to French. I don't know what part of Canada they're going to. Hopefully, it's the part where they speak English primarily, and so you'll still be able to understand us. But happy birthday to Richard.
Absolutely. Appreciate you listening very much. Thank you to everyone for listening to this podcast. We always appreciate that. And we also appreciate if you can give the podcast a 5-star rating. You can do that on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. The ratings help us out a lot. If you've already rated the podcast, thank you. If you haven't yet done that, please take like the 10 seconds it takes to do that. Again, that helps us out a good deal. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
And the pitch to House, swung on in line towards left. It's down. Fair ball will go all the way to the left field corner. Rounding third is Abrams with another run, and into second is Brady House. House with his 5th double and his 16th run batted in. A line drive double down the line into the left field corner. Back-to-back 2-base hits for the Nationals to start the bottom of the 6th inning. And the Nationals now have a 2-run cushion. It's Washington 4, Minnesota 2.